Hello, my name is Paul Breda, and I will be on the Wharton ballot on November 5th as I run for Board of Education. This is a re-election campaign for me. I've been on the board for 11 years now, and I'm seeking your vote to remain for another 3. There's a few things that are unusual about this year's election. First of all, it is a challenged election. We have 2 contenders in addition to the 2 incumbents, so that's 4 people on the ballot running for 2 seats. That's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing because it'll prompt conversations like this one and hopefully some more that we'll have between now and November 5th. But the other thing that's unusual about this election is that our mayor has weighed in, and he's specifically selected to support the challengers. Which is rather unusual for a mayor to get involved in a Board of Election race like this. There must be a reason, and I'd like to present to you what those reasons are, in my opinion, and you can form your own conclusion. Everything that I share with you in this video is the result of OPRA, Open Public Records requests that I've made. I've brought this to both the Board of Education as an individual board member, and I've also shared it and brought it to the council, and we'll talk a little bit about that in this video. Nobody has disputed my figures. Nobody has disputed my conclusions. That includes the mayor. The mayor didn't like being challenged on this. That's why he's supporting the challengers. So let's go back to where this begins. Maybe you remember in March, your newsletter from the mayor included this on the back, an explanation of how our taxes are distributed, as well as the question, what is a pilot, payment in lieu of taxes? It might have struck you as unusual because there was really no prompting for this, but there really was, and let me share that with you here. This is the March newsletter. This is my February 9th Open Public Records request form that I submitted on February 9th, requesting the following from the town. Please identify the properties in Wharton under pilot agreements. Properties, development properties that are making payments in lieu of taxes. Specify for each property the start date, term, and duration, and yearly payments being made annually to Wharton and Morris County and other entities receiving payments or other benefits. 3, for each property, please provide the total assessed value before the pilot and the current total assessed value or value of subsequent improvements. This is the first of probably 4 OPRA requests, but everything that follows in this video is the result of information that was shared as a result of these requests. New Jersey statute allows municipalities to enter into payment in lieu of taxes, pilot agreements, with real estate developers. This law grants municipalities the authority to negotiate pilot agreements as a means of promoting redevelopment and encouraging desirable development in areas where it's determined they seek to improve economic conditions. So pilot agreements are found in law, and the following few slides here I'm going to share come from a presentation given by a Parsippany council member who actually stood up to his council and opposed the way pilots were being managed by the town and the impact that it was having on taxpayers. So I'm borrowing here from Justin Masella's presentation. Municipalities use payment in lieu of taxes to encourage development of a project that might not otherwise be financially viable. If local officials determine that the redevelopment of a certain area would benefit the town and they can incentivize development in that area through the pilot program, which essentially gives the developer a break on property taxes. The reason for this might be, for example, the developer is willing to build on a piece of property, but it requires some degree of initial work that might include, for example, knocking down an existing structure or cleaning up a toxic waste dump. These would be some extreme examples of why a developer might seek a reduction in to make payments in lieu of taxes, which will basically help them with the cost of developing those types of properties. However, this option is sometimes a lightning rod for school districts that feel shortchanged when the pilot payments are made. That's not entirely my objection. The school district will always get the money that it budgets for. School districts and municipalities are capped at asking taxpayers for no more than 2% in an increase in their taxes in any given year. So it's not about the schools being shortchanged. The schools will get their money, but they'll get the money from somebody. And pilots have an impact on where that money is ultimately coming from. Traditionally, a residential or commercial taxpayer like you and I, we're residential taxpayers, we're required to pay property taxes to the municipality in which we are located. In New Jersey, the property tax bill is generated by the municipality, but the taxes are collected then on behalf of various taxing entities, predominantly the municipality, school districts, and county government. In addition, smaller, less significant taxes are also collected by the municipality, like the library or open spaces. And then once the municipality receives the tax revenue, the municipality in turn pays the county, the school district, and those other taxing entities their share. When a pilot agreement is reached, however, the municipality receives 95% of all that revenue, and the county receives 5%. So basically, the school district is then not part of that revenue stream, and neither is the library. All that revenue from those properties that would otherwise be shared now will flow 95% to the municipality. There is some tax revenue from that property on the underlying property value. But we'll look at a tax bill in a moment, you'll see that that's not much. Does not include the improvements made to that property. This is my tax bill. It looks just like your tax bill. You can see the assessed value includes land and improvements. When a developer develops a piece of property to build real estate on, it's the improvement value that goes up dramatically. But your tax bill shows how your taxes are distributed, and it shows how the taxes are calculated under that rate per $100 column. That's our tax rate that's applied to each of those taxing entities. Local tax, municipality, district, school tax, Wharton Borough Public Schools, regional school tax, that's Morris Hills Regional. So again, those three bodies cannot increase your property taxes by more than 2% in any given year. If your tax bill has gone up more than 2%, it's because of the impact of the assessed value of your property. So what does this mean in Wharton? There are 4 pilots in Wharton under pilot agreements, 4 properties. Those 4 properties have a cumulative assessed improved value of $58,843,400. Our total tax base in town is something over $900 million. So those 4 properties are $58+ million out of our total tax base of 900, let's call it 910 million. If I apply the corresponding tax rates for each of those taxing entities, these properties would be generating $1,160,980 to Morris Hills Regional and Wharton Borough Schools. But remember, that revenue is now not being distributed as per our tax bill. 95% of that revenue, whatever it is, and it's less than they would be paying in taxes, that's why they want the agreement, whatever that revenue is from those 4 properties, it now flows 95%, not 18%, to the municipality and 5% to the county. So these properties generate $0 to the schools, instead of what they would generate again, $1.16 million. However, Wharton Borough Schools is not losing that money. Morris Hills Regional School District is not without that money. Who's making that up, that $1.1 million? You and I. We are filling the gap created by pilot agreements with those 4 developers. Because the school will still get its money, it's just not flowing from those properties to the school district as it would if it were taxes. At the March 25th council meeting, the mayor invited the tax assessor and the town CFO to publicly present on how taxes are assessed and how pilots work. They did not explain the implications to the taxpayers of either one. First of all, how the town assesses a new value to our properties every year. That was explained how it's done, but not the impact that it has on our tax bill. Again, if you look at your tax bill and it's gone up by more than 2%, there's there's a different way of calculating for the regional school district that might have some impact, but the bulk of the change is due to the change in the value to our properties, and that's because of how the town assesses our values every year. Pilot programs are essentially a taxpayer subsidy offered to developers, and I in no way, shape, or form have even been critical of that. There may be cases where a pilot agreement makes good sense for the development of the town. My problem with this is it's not being explained, and there are other questionable things about this that I could get into in maybe in a subsequent video. But if you recall, if you were at this council meeting, you'll recall that I had an exchange with the mayor, none of which is recorded in the council meeting minutes, by the way. And I basically said, you need to explain the full impact of pilots. The explanation that I offered in that meeting, just as I'm presenting here, were not disputed by the mayor, nor were my figures. Then another resident asked, why is this revenue not being shared with the schools, as it would be if it were tax revenue? And the mayor answered, the schools have not asked. So, at the May 9th meeting, comes out of the minutes from the May 9th meeting of the Wharton Borough Board of Education. The Wharton Borough Board of Education passed a resolution. And here's what the resolution states. The Wharton Borough Municipal Government and Wharton Borough Board of Education enjoy a long collaborative relationship from which the families, taxpayers, and residents of the town benefit. And both sides are equally committed to serving the best interests of the taxpayers. Whereas the responsibility for residential and commercial development in town rests with the planning board, mayor, and council. And by the way, it's the mayor and council who approve pilot agreements, not the planning board. And in the course of attracting desirable investment and development into town, the municipality may enter into agreements with developers to accept payments in lieu of taxes. And such agreements might be beneficial to all affected parties and are acceptable and governed by state statute. Whereas these statutes allow payments to go directly to the town and county, such that these developed properties no longer contribute to what would be a tax revenue stream earmarked for the school districts. That's Wharton Borough Schools and Morris Hills Regional. And this is an unintended and undesirable consequence unrelated to the benefits achieved through pilot agreements. Therefore, it is desirable and beneficial to Wharton taxpayers that the school districts share in the revenue received by pilot agreements. And therefore, the Wharton Borough Board of Education is requesting that 40% of revenue received by the town of Wharton, which is equal to the district's share of all property taxes collected by the town, be shared with the Wharton Borough Board of Education to the benefit of our taxpayers. And the Wharton Borough Board of Education be recognized as a stakeholder in future matters of new developments and be included in related conversations. And that revenue from future pilot agreements be likewise shared in a manner consistent with normal property tax apportionment. So this is the board's resolution. What is important about this is that it does not in any way, shape, or form criticize any pilot agreements. It simply says that by taking 95% of the revenue to the town, that's an unintended consequence. All the benefits, potential benefits of a pilot agreement would still be there if the town shared those revenues with all those other taxing entities, namely the schools. So, Mr. Mayor, the Board of Education has asked for our share of that revenue. This is from the minutes of the May 20th council meeting in which they acknowledge that resolution from the Wharton Borough Board of Education was received. And the response has been nothing but crickets, not the courtesy of a reply, not a no thank you, not a go to hell, nothing has come out of the council, which basically is following the lead of our mayor. So maybe the board's request was crazy. However, here is an ordinance from the Township of Hanover in our own county. This is basically explaining again the impact of payments made in lieu of taxes. But this town desires that the funding received from such redevelopment sources be specifically dedicated to the overall reduction of municipal taxes paid by the residents and property owners of the Township of Hanover, and the contribution of such tax ratables be distributed to the Hanover Public Schools. And then that ordinance goes on to specify how those payments made in lieu of taxes should be distributed. Now, in Wharton, the $1.1 million that you and I are subsidizing for these developers is not coming to the schools the way that it would if it were tax revenue. In the case of Hanover, what they're saying is we're going to take that revenue, whatever it may be, and it will be less than what the taxes would have been, and we're going to share it with the schools, and we're not going to ask our taxpayers to make up that difference. Here's another town in it's Hoboken in Hudson County that also passed a similar arrangement with its school district. In fact, in this article, it's funny, the mayor is bragging about how they've come to this agreement and what a good thing it is for their taxpayers. The Wharton Borough Board of Education is not crazy. Some final notes. No developer ever agreed to pay the same or more taxes under a pilot agreement. They never agreed to pay the same or more under a pilot agreement than they would in taxes. So a pilot agreement is automatically a loss of revenue for everybody. And again, that may or may not be a bad thing. I've never uttered any criticism of the mayor or council for entering into pilot agreements. I simply ask questions. I've tried to approach this more from the perspective of a taxpayer than a Board of Education member. And by the way, I'm speaking not on behalf of the board, I'm speaking on behalf of myself for having investigated this. I did, as an individual board member, bring it to the board, and I'm sharing with you what's in the public record as far as what the board has done with this information. But the mayor publicly described me as being adversarial just for asking these questions. There are some additional questions that I'm not answering in this video, and you might be interested in the answers because I know the answers. How many of the 4 pilot properties are actually making payments to the town? How much are they paying? And where will I find that revenue in the town's budget? Now, the challengers who the mayor is supporting are promising transparency, fiscal responsibility, accountability. What's funny is you won't find this revenue in the municipal government budget. It's nothing about this arrangement is transparent. I would argue that there's a lot about it that's fiscally not necessarily responsible, but you can draw your own conclusions. If we don't answer these 3 questions in subsequent videos, I would encourage you to take these down and take them to the next council meeting, and we'll all ask the council and the mayor these 3 questions. Again, I'm running for school board on the November 5th ballot. I created this video once I saw that the mayor was coming out against me with 2 other challengers. The newcomers that he's supporting have never, to my knowledge, ever as much as attended a board meeting. One of those 2 newcomers supported by the mayor moved to town in June of last year. Now, those two know now why the mayor supports them, and so do the other people, some of you might be watching this video right now, who he also openly asked to run, but they declined, and I know who they are. Again, pilot agreements are not the reason I'm running for Board of Education. I've been on this board since 2013. I've been on boards of education cumulatively, including in other towns, for more than 20 years. There are some very important issues coming up that you'll want experience on the board. Number one, we're selecting a new school leader this year. And also, we're in the midst of negotiations with our Teachers Association, and I serve on that committee. So these are some issues that you will not want new board members on your board um, uh, contending with those two issues specifically. But overall, I'm very proud of the role that I've played in shaping the student, educator, and family experience in our schools, and I'm asking to continue in that role. In other videos, perhaps, and other opportunities, I'd like to meet with you between now and November 5th to talk about all the issues around our schools, including some that may not be popular. So please look for me on the ballot. Paul Breda, the ballot will also say taxpayers' voice. I'm not sure where I will be located on the ballot, but I'm counting on your vote. And I thank you for this time that you've given me in this video, and I welcome your questions. If you'd like to reach me, I'm at 973-479-0689. That's my cell phone number. And I look forward to more of these conversations between now and November 5th.